What is going on, everybody? My name is Jared and welcome back to the channel. For those of you that have been following along, you'll know that in the last video I just wrapped up painting most of the bilge. Not the entire thing, but enough that I can start reassembling and kind of saving the last bit for right before I put the engine in. So that being said, I need to start putting things back, and that's going to start with new hoses for all the plumbing. Once I start putting generators and tanks and all kinds of other stuff back, I'm not really going to have the access that I need to be able to do that. So that's going to be first things first. Then we will start getting into some of the other stuff I have going on in this box here. So without further ado, let's get into installing the hoses. Back in 2017, I began a full restoration of my 96 Bayliner by tearing it apart all the way down to the hull. From there, I began the rebuilding process, which included learning to fiberglass, rebuilding an engine and outdrive, learning to fair and paint, and even upholstery. Now, I've bought a 28-foot cabin cruiser, and I'm starting all over. Welcome, my name's Jared. Now get ready, because it's going to be a ship show. Alright, you gotta push in hard. Feed it. You gotta get closer. Coming? Good. Alright, so lift this up. Do you have it?
Not yet. I saw it come through though.
Alright, I'm gonna feed it up from the back now. Oh, there's another wasp nest under here.
Watch for wasps.
Is it not fitting through that hole already? What is it hitting? It's like it's not hitting the hole. Oh, there it goes. Here, I'll start pulling from out there.
I keep standing on this silver thing. Is that bad?
All right, ready?
Yep.
I'm trying to remember how far this has to go. Yeah, it should be enough.
Not gonna lead to on our side.
These? The water tank that's in the garage right now. The big one is how you fill it. One of the small ones is a vent. And then the other one goes to the pump in here to pump it to all the sinks and everything. Okay, so everything you saw up to that point was the plan until I started to implement it and realized that I did not like it for two reasons. So let's talk about those two reasons. So these are Beckson deck hatches. This is the only thing sitting between my bilge and a bunch of turds. And I wanted to spend a few extra bucks on each of these to ensure that they seal. So these have passed a whole bunch of like ABYC testing, and the plan was to drill these holes. They take a number 8 screw, which I had here, I thought, but what I actually had here was zinc plated steel, not stainless. So I ended up running out to grab the correct stainless steel screws, and when I got back I had also purchased some washers and nylock nuts for the inside. I was going to through bolt it thinking that would be the secure way to go, and it is, but because of this lip here, it's really hard to get your hand around there with, on the inside, mind you, with a washer and nylock nut 6 times. And the other thing I didn't like is sealant doesn't last forever, and at some point in the future, hopefully not anytime soon, this is going to need to be resealed. That means I gotta stick my hand in here and get a socket on a nut that probably has some less than desirable things on it, though I don't love the idea of that. So back to the hardware store again, ended up getting some number 8 screws, like actual sheet metal screws. And this, obviously I don't have to worry about the backside, so, and this plastic is plenty thick enough that it's not going to be an issue structurally. Now these holes that I drilled in here are obviously too big, so I'm going to have to reclock this, but I actually kind of think there's a benefit there in that these holes that I have here now are going to provide additional spots for the sealant to kind of ooze down in and cure, and that'll actually give it another kind of mechanical lock to the plastic, which I think is actually kind of a nice side benefit. So I'm going to, well, I actually already did off camera. I went around and marked the new drill holes. So I'm going to go through and drill those and get them ready to go. Then we will clean up the plastic, sand it real good, and then we'll go ahead and screw it in, put the sealant on, and let it cure. All right, so I'm gonna let that sealant cure up. All these screws I got hand tight with just a hand screwdriver, and once that's set up, we can continue on. Okay guys, so this thing has set up and cured. It looks good. There's no gaps or anything like that. This is officially about as far as I'm going to take this one, because there's some other things I need to get done before I can go any further with this. So it's going to be a matter now of rinse and repeat with this process on the water tank, the fresh water tank. Then we can get into what's going on in this box that you saw in the opening clip. What I have here is a Victron GX Tank 140, which you don't necessarily need if you have a Serbo GX. You can use standard resistive tank sensors, but I can't claim figuring this out. I actually saw this being done on another project that I found in some Googling. So I ended up going this route. This is a liquid level sensor, and it basically works on pressure. The reason that this requires this Tank 140 device is because this is a current-based measurement, so it is a 4 to 20 milliamp sensor, which is very common in the industrial world. This is a stainless steel device, and the nice thing about this is because it's pressure-based, there's literally no moving parts. If I were to go ahead and stick a typical float sensor, which has a float that goes up and down either on a pivot or on a rod. If you stick that inside of here, well, we know what is going inside of a waste tank. And over time, that's going to get fouled up and that float's no longer going to move, and you're going to have to take that apart and clean it. I'm not saying this will never need cleaned, but because there is no moving parts on this, this just sits down at the bottom of the tank, and as the fluid level goes up, it just measures the pressure differential and tells you when the tank's full. So that is the background of what I'm doing here. This hatch basically is just giving me something to mount this grommet in. So if I put the grommet in here, feed the wire through the seal, all that kind of stuff. And it is nice, I will say, to have an access hatch for cleaning and whatnot. So kind of a win-win situation here. That being said, like I said, the next step is going to be a rinse and repeat on the freshwater tank, get all the fittings installed on that as well. Same here, I got to Teflon tape and reinstall these fittings. Let me get this off of the bench, the freshwater tank up here. We're going to do this to that, let that cure up, and then I'm going to install the sensor in the freshwater tank so I can get that back in the boat and then be done with the floor covering in the aft cabin area. I can screw that back down in place, put the storage covers back on, get that out of the garage, and just kind of cross that off the list for now, which will be nice. Okay, it's enough talking. Let's do the next one. All right, everybody, this has set up now for almost a week actually, and that's not because it needs to. I actually got back from vacation and I'm ready to move on with this. So to pick up where we left off, got this glued in the freshwater tank, and now the plan is I need to get this cable seal or cable gland, whatever you want to call it, into this hatch, because the whole, well, one of the points of this is to have something that I can mount this cable gland into. I have one of these step drills that's meant for like sheet metal and things like that. I don't want to use a regular drill bit on this plastic if it's too thin. I don't know how thick it is, but if it's really thin, you run the risk of it kind of grabbing and causing problems. So you can see one of the benefits of that step drill is you get a nice clean hole. Sometimes with thin material and a regular twist drill, you can get sort of not round holes. Okay, so that's what the inside's going to look like. And then this nut on the back here, for those of you guys that haven't seen this before, if you take this nut off, there's actually like a rubber seal in here with these little fingers, and there's a taper on the inside of this nut. So as you tighten down this nut further, that rubber seal starts out really big, and if you tighten it like way down, you can see how small that rubber seal then gets when you tighten it the whole way. Let's get this glued in with some sealant. Okay, so off camera I got the cable gland sealed, glued in, the nut tightened up, and actually went ahead and did it on the one for the wastewater tank as well. So those are good to go. Okay, so on the freshwater tank, since I want to get this stuff kind of tucked away and be done with the floor in the aft cabin, I am going to go ahead and install the sensor in this one because that can be out of the way and done. So what needs to happen is I need to feed this cable through the cable gland, and then we're going to try and position this sensor so it is just touching the bottom. So basically this point here. So it's hanging straight down inside the tank. Now, yes, there is a risk as the boat lists and kind of waves around. Yeah, this might swing a little bit and give me a little bit of a false reading. Worst case, like in the bay, if I get a couple of big waves, it might swing over here. But the other thing too is the Victron system, you can set it up to take averages over a certain amount of time. So I'm probably going to set it up to take an average over like 10 seconds. So it'll take readings constantly and then average those numbers out. So if this thing's swinging around, it's not a big deal. Now you wouldn't want it where it, I mean, if it's like that, your boat's in trouble. So that shouldn't be a concern anyway. But for the time being, this thing's just going to hang straight down. I need to get this cable tie off of here, and then we'll feed all the cable through this cable gland. Okay, so we got this in position. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see that. So now I just need to basically lift up on this, drop it down. And I don't know if you can hear that, but I can actually hear that sensor hitting the bottom. So that's where I want it to sit. So now we're just going to tighten down this cable gland, but I think this will work. And then I'll use this one on the upper. Now this doesn't need to be like absolutely insanely tight. Remember, we're just trying to seal. That should be plenty. This one's ready to go. So I'm going to let this adhesive seal up here for, I don't know, an hour. So while that's happening, I'm just going to kind of bundle this cable back up. Easier said than done. And then I think we're ready to get this thing installed back in the boat, which is pretty exciting because I'm sick of having that aft cabin floor out, because once that's screwed back into place, I can put those hatch covers, those storage hatch covers back on, which makes getting back there a lot easier and more comfortable. So yeah, let's let this cure and then we'll throw it in the boat and I'll see you out there. Be right back. All right, well, pardon the bad lighting and audio quality. I'm kind of in a tight spot here with the floor propped up and can't really get a good shot in here with my normal camera, so using the phone. We have the water tank installed, the hoses tightened in place, got the sensor wire routed. Let's see if I can spin you around here. Got it zip tied to the walls, routed through the hole, and it is popping up right over there for now. I'm going to run it further in the future, but it's at least out of the way that I can get this floor screwed back down. But I had to get creative and figure out how I wanted to mount the tank. I thought about a couple of different methods. It's like, well, see if I can find some plastic, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I have a 3D printer. So, design these things up with 2 screw holes in it, going through at a slight angle. And right now I have a piece of like paint stir taped on the back to kind of help stand it off. So the plan is I'm going to screw these in here so the plastic overlaps the side of the tank. And with those angled screws, I'm going to pre-drill the pilot holes for the screws and then remove the spacer. So as I tighten that down, it's actually going to draw this down and wedge down, pushing down on the corner of the tank. And I think that's going to be okay. We'll have to wait and see. We do have a piece down here that holds it. Those two plastic pieces down at the bottom that are holding it from shifting this way. It's more just an up and down thing. I'm going to go ahead and get these pilot holes drilled on both sides, remove the paint stir, get the screws screwed in, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so we are back with the cool lighting vibe. Now I have a work light down there for something I'm going to do in a minute, but I wanted to show you I got the, well, you can't see that at all. I got my 3D printed brackets in, one on that side. I ended up having to redesign one over here because this cover wasn't fitting back down using the same one on the other side. So anyway, got that sorted out, and you can also see I put in a little squirt of spray foam on each side, really just to stabilize the tank left and right. Those 3D printed brackets are going to do a decent job of it on their own, but they didn't completely hold it, so it's very tightly held front to back because the plastic brackets down in the front. If you can see those way down there, and these are holding it down, the 3D printed brackets. But left and right, it was pretty firm already, but I just figured, hey, what's it gonna hurt to put a shot of spray foam in there? So that is where we're at. I got all the hoses hooked up to the tank, clamps on and everything. The pickup hose down there is on. So I am ready. Oh wait, in addition to that, I hooked up, let's see if I can do this without getting down there. You can see the hoses coming out here. They go up behind this wall, and the speaker's out, and you can see back in here, this is our water hose. And further back in there, if you can see it, is the waste hose, the vacuum for the waste. So those are all clamped in place, and I think I'm ready to leak test the tank. So I'm going to move my ladder over to the side, fill the tank up to the top, and yeah, look for leaks. All right, we are officially leak-free. Let me show you. Not that you're gonna be able to see much of anything. It's already draining, but I checked all the spots down in there. Basically looking for the fitting where the hose comes out the bottom, as well as the old, what are they called? Basically the contacts for the level sensor on the tank, since I'm not using those anymore. They used to have like silicone over the screws, which I'm assuming was just as like a backup safety measure. But I removed that, and I didn't see any reason they would leak, but again, I just wanted to check. So I even filled it all the way to the top because I was a little bit curious as well about the deck cap. Looked good, held water tight. So at this point, I'm feeling confident that this thing's in good shape. So I'm going to kind of clean up around here, and I'm going to zip the screws back in this thing and get it permanently put back in place, which is exciting because that means I can start putting the aft cabin back together within reason, at least the back panels, things like that. And then we can start working on the electrical layout back there. So things are happening. It's getting exciting. So let's get this thing back in place and show you what it looks like when we're done. All right, guys, it is officially the next day. I kind of ran out of daylight to show you the finished product last night, but it is in. I have the rear floor in the aft cabin installed. I do have the hinges off still because I need to do a little bit of tweaking and fine tuning here, but for all intents and purposes, the rear floor in the aft cabin is in, which is awesome because that means the water tank is done and taken care of, good to go. The next thing I want to do is get some more plumbing done in the bilge, which is going to comprise of installing the wastewater tank, or at least getting the location set, the holes drilled to mount it and everything, and running the plumbing. So I have those hoses run. I just want to work on then getting them trimmed to length, and I actually decided to install some PVC pipe in the bilge to save on some hose, and also it's cheaper. So we'll go over that in the next video. I think, that being said, this one's getting to be a little bit long to keep going with, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I want to thank you guys for watching this one. Appreciate all you guys that have liked and subscribed to these videos. Again, if you find it helpful, please remember to hit that like button down below. And I guess that's going to do it for this one. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.